Good evening, I'm Marivelle Tarouk. It is a busy week ahead for parents across the province as school teachers begin a fresh round of strikes tomorrow. This week, many schools will close for 2 days as the job action escalates. Laura McQuillan has that story.
3, 2, 1, go!
The countdown is on to make contingency plans as public elementary teachers resume their rolling one-day strikes across the province, as well as a province-wide strike on Thursday. That leaves most parents scrambling to find childcare for 2 days this coming week.
I've been really fortunate that my work is understanding and I'll be allowed to work from home the 2 days this week, but as things go on, I'm really not sure what I'm going to do.
Plan to, with other parents, take care of the kids together?
Well, the teachers, they don't work, and so that doesn't really do much for them, but it does much for us because we don't have to go to school.
A mediator called off talks between the Elementary Teachers Federation and the province on Friday. The union declined to comment today, but on Friday it said the government was unwilling to negotiate on key issues like funding for special education. But elementary students aren't the only ones affected by job action. High school teachers will also hold a one-day strike on Tuesday, impacting dozens of schools and school boards, including York, Waterloo and Halton. The same day, a province-wide strike will close all English Catholic schools. In a statement to CBC News, Education Minister Stephen Lecce said, "We continue to stand up against the withdrawal of services to students across the province. Our aim has always been to reach a negotiated settlement that keeps kids in class." This mother says she supports the teachers, but she hopes a deal will come sooner rather than later.
We just wanted this to end. It's because the most important for us now is the kids learning, right? So we just don't wanted it to be affected. Right? So we just wanted our kids to go back to school on a regular basis.
Laura McQuillan, CBC News, Toronto.
Another memorial was held outside Toronto today in Concord for another family torn apart by the January 8th flight disaster in Iran. The CBC's Chris Glover has this report on the mother and daughter killed and the husband and father who was left behind to mourn.
Home videos of 9-year-old Rira Esmailia. In life, music is what moved her. In death, memories of her joy move so many. Her father Hamed says in Farsi, darkness has embraced him. Today he was joined by several hundred people to pay tribute to his daughter and his wife Parissa, who was a dentist.
I know she loved her job, but more importantly, she loved her daughter and her husband so much.
Rira and Parissa were among the 63 Canadians killed in the Ukrainian Airlines disaster in Iran last month. Today, Hamed thanked Canadian officials for helping to make this memorial possible.
When I was in Iran and trying to repatriate my loved ones to Canada, Canadian team was the only light in the darkness.
She was precious. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Aramis Fandieri knew Rira her whole life. He studied dentistry with Hamed and Parissa in Iran decades ago and has been like family ever since they all relocated to the Toronto area.
Even now, after more than 3 weeks, every moment I remember them, it just breaks my heart over and over again.
The room was bursting with people. Some who had never met the family drove from neighboring communities to be here.
I couldn't control myself.
So many picking up on the family's special bond, including the local school board superintendent, with a nod to the late NBA star Kobe Bryant.
Hamid, you are truly a girl dad.
Hamed says his grief is lightened only by the support he's received, and even in his pain, justice he calls for as he demands Iran hand over the evidence needed for a full review of what caused the tragedy that changed his life forever. Chris Glover, CBC News, Concord, Ontario.
Police in Britain shot and killed a man today after a stabbing incident in South London. Authorities are calling it a terrorist incident, and there's dramatic video of the immediate aftermath of the shooting. But first, a word of warning, it contains some graphic images. You can see the officer with a gun still drawn. Apparently, after the shooting the suspect, 3 victims were taken to hospital. 2 of them had been stabbed. The third received minor injuries believed to have been caused by glass after the shooting. Police say the suspect was recently released from prison. They say he was serving time for Islamist-related terrorism offenses. Police also say they found some kind of a device strapped on the suspect's body after killing him, but they later determined it was not a bomb. Hundreds of people remain stranded in BC's Fraser Valley after a mudslide blocked a stretch of the only road in and out of a ski resort. But a manager at Sasquatch Mountain Ski Hill says her customers are in good hands and getting plenty of support from the community.
We have an ongoing list of any guests that need medications, diapers, anything like that. And we've got people in the mainland that are picking things up and sending them up with the helicopters for us. So we've got a pretty good system going on here.
Now, this is a look at that stretch of road. BC crews have been working to clear it. The mudslide was triggered by a heavy rainstorm on Friday. The resort has been without power, but there is a generator servicing the lodge. The CBC has spoken with the owner of a local helicopter company. He told us he was going to spend the day flying people out of the resort. He estimated he would get 60 people out today. Well, let's check on our weather in our region, and Sonia is here with that. Lovely temperatures this weekend and great snow, I thought.
I know, very mild. That's going to stay, and I'll tell you that in just a little bit. But right now we are sitting at about 1. We are definitely above seasonal. That system that is making its way out, it's almost clear. It just brought maybe 1 to 3 centimeters of snow in the Toronto region, so it really didn't have a lot of moisture. As you said, it is very mild. It will continue to be mild going into our Monday, and that's thanks to those westerly winds keeping us warm. Take a look at Windsor all the way through to Toronto, almost hitting that 10-degree mark. Again, unheard of for this time of the year. What we are looking at, though, going into our Monday evening is a system that is making its way through, and so it could bring with that some rain, freezing rain, specifically into the overnight into Toronto and into the Windsor area, but I'll get into that in just a little bit after the break later on. And again, we've just got these really great temperatures tomorrow with some snow going into our Tuesday. Wednesday, it's going to feel like -5, and then we have more to talk about after the break.
Okay, we'll see you in a little bit. Thanks, Sonia.
Thank you.
Well, tonight was Super Bowl Sunday, pitting the San Francisco 49ers against the Kansas City Chiefs, and it ended in a dramatic comeback.
And Juszczyk gets a big play off of it.
A third-quarter touchdown gave the 49ers a 10-point lead, but a fourth-quarter Pat Mahomes pass landed in the end zone and drew a flag. That led to a touchdown. Minutes later, the quarterback struck again, and again a touchdown followed to take the lead. The Chiefs scored again for good measure, bringing the championship to Kansas City for the first time since 1970. Here at home, many Torontonians took to the rec room to cheer on their favorite teams.
Go Niners, go! Go Niners, go! Go Niners, go!
Okay, they're going to be disappointed 49ers fans. Football enthusiasts, though, geared up ahead of the game to tailgate at the bar downtown, enjoying pregame activities like good old beanbag toss and, of course, participating in that quintessential tradition, eating food and chugging down a whole lot of beer. Well, for the 3rd year in a row, the Toronto Raptors hosted Pride Night. The event works to promote diversity, equality, and inclusion for fans and athletes who belong to the LGBTQ community. Natalie Nanowski has that story.
It wasn't the American or the Canadian flag on center court, but the rainbow flag. held up by members of Rexdale Pride, a group helping Toronto's LGBTQ youth.
It's really important to have them be supported by an organization like the Raptors as well, to show them that they matter and that they belong here at the Scotiabank Arena.
The group watched the team warm up and sat up close while the Raptors took on the Chicago Bulls.
Nick Nurse, been here all 50.
Terrence Davis, the football star turned pro basketball player, was the top scorer with 31 points.
Davis! How about...
It's the third year the Raptors held a Pride Night game. The event is put together by the You Can Play project. It ensures LGBTQ athletes and fans feel welcomed and accepted in the world of sports.
The partnership with You Can Play, going back to You Can Play's inception in 2012, we support them across all 4 of our teams, so the Leafs, Raptors, TFC, and the Argos. It's important that we hold these awareness nights to really foster an environment of inclusion.
It's really about creating that culture of having an ally in the room with you. If you're a player and you know that everybody's got your back, if you're a coach, if you're a fan in the stands, that you just want to be yourself, then you know you have that support of the people behind you on your team, and you really feel like you belong in that room and on that team.
The night ended with a bang. The Raptors won their 11th game in a row. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
The epicenter of the coronavirus is locked down and the army is bringing in supplies to Wuhan. But the virus is still spreading, and today the first death outside China is recorded. We'll have more on that story coming up. The first coronavirus death outside China has been recorded in the Philippines. The victim had traveled from Wuhan, the Chinese city where the outbreak began. Officials say his condition improved for a time, but he died yesterday. In China, Wuhan is effectively quarantined. The CBC's Sasha Petrusik reports.
In Wuhan, they count the body bags. That's 8 in the van parked outside the hospital. In a video secretly shot by a visitor and posted on the internet. Inside the emergency ward, the man next to the bed is distraught, sobbing in grief. My father, he says, he's gone. He stopped breathing. That's one more victim of the coronavirus here. Another is shown being carried out of the hospital. And yet another body bag is removed from an apartment building by men in hazmat suits. That person never even made it to hospital in a situation that's all too familiar to those struggling to get relatives diagnosed and treated here.
The hospital staff just told them that they could not perform the tests. I think it's because of a capacity issue.
These are the stories coming out of the quarantine zone here in the epicenter of this epidemic. Stories of hundreds of deaths and infections mounting by the thousands. Medical staff overwhelmed, supplies unavailable. On Chinese state TV, none of that is mentioned, instead focusing on a new 1,000-bed hospital finished in 10 days flat. Needed for sure, but not enough to solve all the problems.
That's the CBC's Sasha Petrusik reporting. Well, Ottawa has now chartered an aircraft to bring people home from Wuhan. The Prime Minister's office issued a statement today on the evacuees' destination. It says the Canadians will be flown to Canadian Forces Base Trenton. Global Affairs says 325 Canadians have requested assistance. Once they arrive in Canada, they'll stay at the base for 2 weeks under medical observation. In addition to federal support, they'll have access to provincial and local health services once they return to their homes. Iraq's ongoing anti-government protests took aim today at the country's new prime minister. They say he's part of the political elite they've been demonstrating against since October. He was appointed yesterday by the president because rival blocs could not agree on a nominee. Today's protest took place despite a call from a powerful populist cleric to end the demonstrations and moves by his backers to clear protest sites. To the states now. On the eve of the Iowa caucuses, it's the first real test for Democratic candidates in the race for the White House. And in Washington, Donald Trump's impeachment trial is set for closing arguments. Paul Hunter shows us how Trump tackled all of it today.
On the impeachment process against him, Donald Trump, this time in his pre-Super Bowl presidential interview, made his disdain clear.
I use the word witch hunt. I use the word hoax. I see the hatred. I see the level. They don't care about fairness. They don't care about lying. You look at the lies.
To recap, Democrats in the House of Representatives impeached Trump in December for trying to pressure Ukraine's president into digging up dirt on rival Joe Biden and then blocking the investigation into that. But in a vote set for this Wednesday in the U.S. Senate, controlled by Republicans, it's all but certain Trump will be allowed to stay in office. So he's now pivoting to the November election.
Under President Trump, America is stronger.
This campaign ad, airing in tonight's Super Bowl, focuses on the economy. In other words, forget about impeachment.
The best is yet to come.
I really believe this administration, me and this administration, we've done more than any administration in the history of our country.
But also airing in tonight's game,
I know Mike is not afraid of the gun lobby.
An ad from presidential hopeful Mike Bloomberg, who's become a target for Trump, today mocking Bloomberg's physical stature.
I just think of little. You know, now he wants a box for the debates to stand on. Okay, it's okay. There's nothing wrong. You could be short. Why should he get a box to stand on, okay?
On that, the Bloomberg campaign called Trump a pathological liar. Trump also today repeated disparaging nicknames for Biden and other Democratic candidates, including Elizabeth Warren and self-described democratic socialist Bernie Sanders.
I think he's a communist. I mean, look, I think of communism when I think of Bernie.
The kickoff, in a sense, to Trump's 2020 campaign. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Boeing's 737 MAX 8 jets have been grounded for almost a year following 2 crashes that killed 346 people. But despite the order, some MAX 8s are taking flight here in Canada. Ashley Burke looked into those exceptions.
Canada is allowing the 737 MAXs to regularly crisscross North America under special circumstances with no passengers on board.
It feels like a slap in the face.
It comes as a shock to those who lost loved ones in a 737 MAX. Chris Moore's 24-year-old daughter died almost a year ago in the Ethiopian Airlines tragedy. Paul Juroge also lost his wife, 3 children, and mother-in-law.
The meaning of grounding is remain on the ground. The fact that they are still flying, it just tells you that these people will never stop playing or juggling with human life.
CBC News analyzed flight data. It shows Air Canada, WestJet, and Sunwing flew at least 160 flights since officials placed restrictions on the fleet in March, including from Montreal to Arizona, Toronto to Kelowna, and Halifax to Windsor.
Airplanes are like cars. You can't leave them sitting around without things starting to happen.
Maintenance is one reason Transport Canada is allowing what it calls ferry flights. The other is to move jets for storage, sometimes in warmer climates, or to keep pilots certified.
These are not flying bombs about to explode. They're not going to start dropping out of the sky on people. These are very safe airplanes flown under those conditions.
Those conditions, only advanced pilots can fly with specialized briefings and simulator training. A mandatory 3rd pilot and extra crew must be on board, and they can only fly in certain weather conditions.
That tells you a lot about the regulatory authorities promoting the industry instead of promoting safety, instead of safeguarding the lives of human beings.
Transport Canada says it won't allow passengers back on the 737 MAXs until it's satisfied with changes being made. But families who lost loved ones want the planes to stay on the ground. No exceptions. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Oh my God, the most outrageous things is probably something that can fit into one of our ballrooms. If they can fit a horse into our ballroom for ceremony purposes. So I think it's pretty bizarre.
Nothing is too big or too extravagant at the wedding show. We'll have all the glitz, glam, and goodies on offer coming up. And did Wyerton Willie see his shadow? Are we destined for 6 more weeks of winter, or is spring coming early this year? We'll have the answer for you straight from the groundhog himself after the break. Wedding season is around the corner, and that means some couples are trying to get a head start by attending the wedding show at the Hyatt Regency in Toronto. Couples visited vendors, planners, and got their cake fixed too.
We had a lineup of 200 plus people, and we're expecting about 100 to 150 people every hour. We have all kinds of vendors. We have planners, decor, florists, venue. We have catering. We have cake.
I've met a lot of interesting vendors so far, and I'm really interested in some of them. I saw some people playing music and some other people with their cakes that were really yummy, so I'm probably gonna go make a consultation and book with them.
Yeah, there's a lot of unique stuff here, like the plant-based invitations. That was really nice, something different and very eco-friendly, so I was thinking about those.
Well, Sonia, I think one thing they're not thinking about is an outdoor wedding, not this time of year anyway.
Well, maybe tomorrow, because we're definitely above seasonal tomorrow. But yes, that system is making its way out. Thankfully, it just brought a dusting of snow, about 3 centimeters in the Toronto area. So by tomorrow, it's just going to be partly cloudy for the most part. Let's take a look at those temperatures. Again, westerly winds keeping things very warm, almost hitting the 10-degree mark. But we are looking at, though, is Wednesday evening into the overnight hours. See this system making its way through? Well, this boundary is pushing in, and basically we're going to see rain and possibly snow going into Tuesday. Also, bigger impact storm coming possibly, potentially on Wednesday into our Thursday. And so with that, again, how much snow, we are not sure. This low is creeping its way in. Again, it's really about this Arctic air being pulled down. We've got this warm air being pushed up, and we are right in the middle of that boundary, temperature boundary. And so that's where we're going to see some active weather. How much snow? Again, we're not sure. We're keeping our eye on it, but this is really the boundary of that snow. So Toronto, we could see many centimeters, and again, but just stay tuned and we'll keep you posted. But tomorrow is going to be quite mild.
Yep, like
so
in
that's
that.
Good news.
It sure is. Thanks a lot, Sonia.
Thank you.
Well, it is that time of year again when a certain groundhog either gives us hope or dashes our dreams for an early spring. Luckily, Wiarton Willie had some good news for spring fans. The albino groundhog did not see his shadow, which means fans of spring can rejoice. Premier Doug Ford attended the ceremony and posed with Willie and the town criers. South of the border, Punxsutawney Phil also predicted an early spring. Consensus on that. And that is our show for you tonight. We're going to leave you with more of the Wiarton Willie Festival celebrations this weekend. Thank you for watching. You can stay caught up on news anytime on our website, cbcnews.ca. Have a great night, everyone.